This video is brought to you by my generous backers over on Patreon. If you'd like to support the channel and get cool perks like access to the Discord, seeing the videos a week before anyone else, or an entire video dedication, then feel free to check out my Patreon. The link's in the description below. This video is dedicated to Antonio Rouse. Antonio, thank you. Daxos the Returned versus Bontu the Glorified, Seizan Perverter of Truth, and Daxos the Returned. We've got some lands there, so we'll keep that. Yeah, the curve's pretty high, but we've got lands, and I know if I mulligan that, then we're going to get a hand without any lands in it. Outlaw also going after Daxos the Returned. We'll see how many variants of cards we have in our decks. I have a couple of means of winning. No turn 1 play seemingly. We will just follow suit with a turn 1 tap land in Godless Shrine. A couple of patrons today. We've got Outlaw, who's decided to copy us and go for Daxos the Returned. We actually don't discuss the decks that we're going to run. We just try and describe power level and then go from there, and it just so happens that Outlaw is bringing Daxos the Returned as well. So if you've clicked this video for a Daxos game, chances are you're going to see a half decent one. Getting down a pain land here, so hopefully that doesn't deal too much damage to them over the course of the game. And then a pain signet as well, in Talisman of Hierarchy. The game continues to go slow and we're just getting into lands, so that will actually see us quite nicely into the mid to late game if we keep making our land drops. Delpho, another patron of the channel, playing Seizan, I think that's how you say it. And we've got a random as well, playing Bontu. Let's go in for... Yeah, we don't have to worry about Blood Moon or anything. Let's just get out our dual land. And then we'll tap out, just like everyone else seems to be doing so far. Then down from Outlaw comes Daxos the Returned. That's most likely what our turn 3 play is going to be as well. And then a painful lesson from Dolfo. Target player draws 2 and loses 2. And then choosing to discard Urborg, which is probably a good idea. In mono black, they should be able to switch on their Cabal Coffers easily enough. And Urborg will actually switch off the Pain land here, so they'll be able to tap that just for black. So forcing them to take life to that. And speaking of taking life, we get another land in a Polluted Delta. Let's just go for our commander. Bontu has come down, by the way. Oh, and now a Smothering Tithe and a Cabal Coffers from Outlaw, so good job that Urborg has gone down already. But yeah, that's a really good hand Outlaw started off with. Then deciding to hold back and pass. We of course have Smothering Tithe in this deck. You should probably have it in every white deck you ever build. And we've also got the Win condition in black. It's a 5 mana enchantment. I think you need 10 or more treasures in order to win the game. So that's one of our win conditions in this deck. No real means of getting it other than Smothering Tithe and the enchantment itself. But if we can surprise our opponents after having Smothering Tithe down for a few turns, then that's one means of winning. And it's not too likely that enchantments are going to be dealt with in this game. Gyra Poor Orrery now. Each player may play an additional land on each of their turns. That's really good for us, because we cannot draw into anything other than lands at the moment. Oh, a Skull Clamp from the Bontu player. And then putting the Skull Clamp onto Bontu. And it's a Grasp of Fate for us. Now the question is, do we want to get rid of Gyra Poor Orrery? Or do we just want to play that Sigil of the Empty Throne? I think that is better for us. Yeah, as much as I'd like to get rid of Smothering Tithe and Skull Clamp, I don't really care about getting rid of this, to be honest, so let's just keep the game moving at a half-decent pace, thanks to everyone being able to play multiple lands. And then we'll sit back as well. Not going to sit back for the rest of the game, but just while we're all getting set up, I am going to sit back and hopefully not make any enemies. Land tax now from Outlaw, so they're certainly not going to struggle on making lands. They've got 4 at the moment and there's 5 over here, so that's likely going to trigger next turn. Then following things up with Profane Procession. And I did consider putting that in this deck, but I don't really have all that many high hopes for it, to be honest. You've got to put 15 mana into it before you can transform it, and then spend another 4 mana just to get a creature with it, so 19 mana just for that seems like too much for me. But I'm more than happy to be proven wrong on that card. Dolfo deciding to pay into the Smothering Tithe this time. And then a Temple Bell causing us all to draw. And that is going to make some treasure tokens over there. Direfleet Ravager. An Orc Pirate Wizard that has Menace, Death Touch. It's a 4/4. When it enters the battlefield, each player loses a third of their life rounded up. Wow, so 23, 25, 26 and 26. We've got quite a bit of life gain in this deck. One of the aims is to make tokens and just go beat sticks on all of our opponents, but do we want to concentrate on ramp at the moment? We'll certainly play a land. And then I think, just so that Outlaw doesn't concentrate activating that on our Daxos, maybe we should just go Solemn. But I wouldn't mind getting an Angel here, to be honest. Anyway, let's crack this for a swamp. Let's go for Sphere of Safety. There's never a good time to cast Sphere of Safety, because it is a lot of mana. But if we can get into the mid-game with quite a few experience counters to make it actually worthwhile pumping mana into the Daxos, then that would be better than nothing. Especially before Daxos goes down, which it may do to a board wipe fairly soon. Going at Dolfo just because he's wide open. And I'm not too worried about a swing back thanks to Sphere of Safety and the Angel. The land tax does trigger, so Outlaw going for a Plains and a couple of Swamps. And they can play 2 of those cards thanks to the Orrery. So land tax and the Orrery gonna do some work here, especially with the Smothering Tithe in play. Oh, Doomwake Giant. Yeah, that's one means of getting rid of our Daxos. And that triggers on an enchantment entering the battlefield. So they could activate their Daxos and give everything -1/-1 again. Alright, and going for the Exile onto Bontu, which will go into the command zone, so that doesn't count towards this thing. If there are 3 or more creatures exiled with it, yep, that doesn't count towards that, I don't think. Dolfo activating the Temple Bell now, and we get into our Rogue's Passage. I'm hoping that we're going to be able to make some big enchantment creatures towards the late game, and Rogue's Passage should allow us to get through nice and easily. Then following things up with Temporal Extortion. Any player may pay half their life total rounded up. If a player does, then you counter it, otherwise you take an extra turn. I'm happy for Dolfo to take an extra turn because he hasn't really done anything too scary yet. Then it is Liliana of the Dark Realms. And if you get the emblem off with that, we're really going to have a hard time dealing with you. It is -6 to get the emblem. Yeah, so I think it's Grasp of Fate next turn. We'll get rid of Smothering Tithe, Liliana and the Skull Clamp. Each player draws again. We get into more mana with Mana Crypt. And then it is Sangromancer. That's a really good one. Excellent life gain off of Sangromancer. Then -X with Liliana onto the Doomwake Giant. That's really good. Probably still going to get rid of her, although -6. Maybe it's just worth going after the Sangromancer because the life gain's so good on that. We'll see what else they play. That is a Viceling. At the beginning of each opponent's upkeep, it deals X damage to that player, where X is the number of cards in hand -4. So we'll be getting 3 dealt to us. Eternity Vessel from Bontu now. Enters with X charge counters on it, which is 22 at this point. And then it has landfall. Whenever a land enters under your control, your life becomes the total of the charge counters on here. So you can keep your life at 22 basically. Alright, we've got a couple of lands to play now, that's good. Gonna say no to the Tithe, so we go up 4 mana this turn. Let's go Grasp of Fate to start off with. And if we get rid of the Sangromancer, we can actually swing in at Liliana, can't we? Because, yeah, that doesn't have flying. I forgot about my Angel. So definitely going to get rid of Sangromancer here. Sangromancer, Smothering Tithe, and Skull Clamp for that. Then let's go for Solemn Simulacrum, get a bit more mana, so we actually go up 5 this turn. And we'll get ourselves into a Plains. Then we can just hold up the ability on Daxos. We will make a 3-3. We've got 3 experience counters. Let's go in at the Liliana. And the board has shrunk down really low for some reason. I don't know why it's doing that. Modo has just released an update, so of course we might have to deal with this for the rest of the game. I'll do my best to expand the board and show you what's going on. Viceling triggered before Outlaw gets to look with the land tax, so they don't fill their hand with basics before they get dealt damage by this thing. Now Outlaw going for a bunch of mana off of the treasure tokens. Oh, and a Heliod's Intervention, I've got that in this deck as well. Yeah, got high hopes for this card, and I haven't seen it played yet, but we're seeing it to great effect. Grasp of Fate, the Mana Crypt, Sphere of Safety, Sigil of the Empty Throne, that's going down. Garaport Orrery, the Temple Bell, I mean pretty much everything is going down here. Yeah, so that's exactly why I held up Hall of Heliod's Generosity. Probably just get that back. Maybe have to go for the Grasp of Fate, but we'll have to allow that here. And there we go, at least that reset the board. So we've actually got half a chance of seeing what's going on now. Now an Idyllic Tutor, going in for an enchantment. Alright, they went for a Humility. They will switch off Daxos if they go for that. Okay, so all creatures are going to be 1/1s with no abilities. I mean, do we care about getting the... do we care about getting Sigil of the Empty Throne then? Because they're not going to be angels. We could go for Auramancer, get the... where is it? Get the Grasp of Fate back. Yeah, I don't think I'm going to bother activating Daxos this turn. I think I'm just going to go for Heliod's Generosity and get the Sigil of the Empty Throne back on top, ready to draw into. Okay, unreal. This is the second week in a row that I've had patrons do this, so Dolfo decided to duck out, and then the Random decided to duck out as well. I was going to get rid of the Humility with, where is it, with the Grasp of Fate. So had my opponents just decided to wait another turn. We do have Hall of Heliod's Generosity, so they might have been able to work that out themselves, but apparently we are just going to get into a 1v1 now. And apologies to the viewers if I'm showing you all this game. There's not a whole lot I can do about players scooping like that. And I only have a finite amount of time to get games in. So we'll go for the Sigil of the Empty Throne on top. Then say no to Smothering Tithe. How much mana do we have? We've got 2, 4, 6, 8 and 9. That's 5, 6, 7, 8. Yeah, we just have to go for Aura Master. Oh, and of course Auramancer doesn't trigger, does it? So we're going to have to go for... yeah, apologies. I'll have to go for Grasp of Fate with Hall of Heliod's Generosity. Yeah, I could have done that here, couldn't I? Yeah, okay, so that was a waste of a turn. Completely forgetting about the Humility already, or thinking that this would trigger when it won't because it doesn't have any abilities. Let's just go in with nothing, because we're not going to trigger our Solemn. We don't want to lose the Angels yet. So let's just go for the Grasp of Fate at the end of Outlaw's turn. Yeah, definitely would have played that different had I have remembered that Auramancy wasn't going to trigger. Could have gone for Sigil of the Empty Throne there. That would have been 2, 4 and 5, and then still had the mana for the Hall. So yeah, that's a mistake on my part. Don't play against Humility that often, so completely forgetting how to do it. And now Urborg and Coffers is online. Profane Procession going on to our Daxos. So that's the first time that goes down this game. Then going for it onto the Auramancer. I will say one thing, it's with a mana sink like Cabal Coffers and your Smothering Tithe. It is a good mana sink to clear your opponent's board. I just think there's more efficient ways to do it than this thing. But it's doing some work for our opponent now. So then we just end up with some Angels in play. Let's see if we can do what I should have done last turn. We'll go for the Grasp of Fate on top. And Outlaw just deciding to bin a couple of basics out of the hand. Not going to pay for the Tithe. And we've got enough to go for Sigil. And then we can go Grasp of Fate afterwards. So there we go. We get an Angel. Grasp of Fate comes down and gets rid of that pesky Humility. We just have to hope that our opponent doesn't have a means of getting rid of our Grasp of Fate. Then we'll swing in with both of these. And Outlaw is up to 5 experience counters now, so they can dump a bunch of mana into their commander and they could probably go wide on us. I think we'd be in a much better position if our other 2 opponents decided to stick around, but Outlaw has been much faster than us in this game. But like I said before, if you click this video for a Daxos the Returned game, then apparently you're going to end up with one. I think they just exiled one of our Angels with this. Eidolon of Rhetoric. Each player can't cast more than 1 spell each turn. So I think going for Greed next turn will be a good idea. And there we go, they're going for a Spirit off of their commander. Then a 2-2 Daxos coming in at us. Our opponent is down to 11, so I'm hoping that we can try and outrace them here. They don't have any evasive creatures. One thing we could do is get rid of all the enchantments to stop all this exile going on. Smothering Tithe triggers there. We don't have anything to reanimate with Necromancy. I think we can go for any creature with this though. Yeah, we can bring back any creature. So what does our opponent have? They don't have any creatures. And we don't have any creatures either because they've been exiled. So why don't we just go for Greed in an attempt to trigger our Sigil of the Empty Throne. And then thanks to the Urborg, we will be able to put some into Greed if we want to. I think we might have to rely on that Austere Command, assuming our Angels stay in play for any length of time. Profane Procession going on to the Angels again. I mean, they have to do that because we're going to swing in at them for lethal next turn. So clearing out our Angels, then making another token with Daxos. So what we can do here is go for enchantments and small creatures. And that should wipe the board quite nicely. It does get rid of our Greed, Grasp and Sigil, but we can get them back with the Haul anyway. So I think we just dump some life into Greed here. Let's see what our life total goes down to first. Yeah, we go down to 10, so we won't be able to do it too much. But at the end of the turn, we will activate Greed and get into a Smothering Tithe of our own. Get into a land, which we don't have to crack thanks to Urborg. And then we might as well go down to 2. And there we go. So we fed our opponent some Smothering Tithe tokens, unfortunately. Probably should have gone for Austere Command last turn. Kind of given up on this game after the early scoops. We get into an Enlightened Tutor, so we could go for something off of the Silent Clearing. We definitely want to go for Austere Command. I don't think we have any means of haste in this deck, unfortunately. Yeah, don't have any means of haste, so do we have any means of draining our opponent, though? I don't think we do, so let's just go in for Austere Command. Oh, and unfortunately that brings the Humility back. Might have to go for some kind of tutor with that. Let's see about going in for the Smothering Tithe then. And then maybe we can go for Enlightened Tutor and grab something with that that'll help us win. We'll put a stop on the upkeep as well, just so that we can activate the Haul if we want to. Auramancer comes down for our opponent, doesn't work thanks to the Humility, but they do have a Haul of Heliod's Generosity of their own. And bringing Daxos back out, also can't activate that, they can swing in with both of these. in order to deal some damage to us next turn and take us out. Then a Kismet. Artifacts, creatures and lands your opponent's control enter tapped. Then they activate their own silent clearing to draw a card. And they pay for the Smothering Tithe, so we haven't gotten any tokens off of that. Then a Merciless Eviction is going to exile all the enchantments, it seems. So I was hoping to activate the Enlightened Tutor during this turn, but apparently not. We're not going to get any treasure tokens, so let's go in for the Enlightened Tutor. Gonna put True Conviction on top, and then try and reanimate one of my opponent's creatures. I think they've only got one actually, but yeah, anyway, we'll give that a try. Don't even know if I've got enough mana to do that. Thankfully, we can tap that for mana. So let's go for True Conviction. Oh, and I auto-tap there, and of course it put life into that, instead of tapping the black, which wouldn't have taken life. Oh, how annoying. Thank you, Modo. Alright, so we'll just show our opponent that we don't have anything. I think this game ought to be drawn to a close now. Yeah, I don't know if taking that one life by accident is actually going to affect the game any. Yeah, there's only one creature to target in the game, so we'll get down our 1/4 with double strike and lifelink. But I think our opponent takes us out anyway, because the humility has gone down now. So they hit us for 2. We deal 2 to this, and they still get us, I think. Creatures without flying can't attack. Alright, all they had to do was turn everything sideways there. Yeah, I'm pretty sure all they had to do was turn things sideways and they would have won. Seems like a bit of a nombo for them there. I don't know of a way that Orzhov can give everything flying. Maybe Eldrazi Monument? Anyway, hopefully my opponent can actually do something about the Mo. I think we have to go for the Sigil of the Empty Throne here and try and go over the top of our opponent's head. Yeah, I think they should have had us there, but got a very unique game on the go here, haven't we? So we'll play the Sigil. Can't play our commander, so we'll just pass it over again and see if they can get rid of their own moat. That Profane Procession comes down again off of the hall, and I was hoping that I had misjudged this card, and apparently I have. If you've got the mana to go with it, which Outlaw has produced in buckets, Cabal Coffers, Urborg, and the Smothering Tithe, they did have a really good hand to go with it, I must say. But Profane Procession is one hell of a mana sink. But the problem is, you have to transform it, don't you? You can't choose not to transform it. So yeah, anyway, the Eidolon of Rhetoric goes down. Obviously there's no swinging in thanks to the moat. I'm going to grab back that Grasp of Fate so that we can get rid of this thing. And then we will go for our commander. Depending on, I think this costs 5, doesn't it? Yeah, that costs 5, so that's 5 there, and then we can still afford Grasp of Fate, just have to very carefully tap this for mana and not accidentally take life again. Then we'll play the Grasp. That will get us into an experience counter and an angel, and our opponent ought to respond here by getting rid of the angel, because we can swing in with that next turn. Alright, but they don't, so hopefully for them, they've got a means of dealing with the angel. Volrath's Stronghold can put a creature on top as well. We don't have too many creatures in our deck, so I've only gone for the Hall. Doomwake Giant now, and that is... yeah, I read that before. That's whenever an enchantment enters. So unfortunately, they can still deal with these angel tokens, so the game is going to go on for a little bit longer yet. I thought we might have had that next turn. Definitely missing haste at this point. Serra's Sanctum for us now, so not really anything to do there. We'll just drop the Serra's Sanctum and we can get a bunch of our tokens into play, but we can't necessarily swing in with them. Let's just try and get damage through with the angel. Our opponent might just let it through for the sake of ending the game. But it doesn't look like they're going to allow it this time. Okay, going for Angel's Grace. They could just wipe out our Angel with the Doomweight Giant, but apparently want to go for Angel's Grace instead. But at least we still get to deal the damage, so we go up to 9. Let's see if we can do anything off of a Silent Clearing. Alright, we get into Sanguine Bond. Whenever you gain life, a target opponent loses that much life. I mean, that might dissuade them from swinging into us. It might make them point removal somewhere else. Let's just play it now. I don't think we can really take our opponent by surprise with that. And it'll give us another Angel and another XP counter as well. That's another win condition, by the way, in the deck, is Sanguine Bond and Exquisite Blood. Pretty typical combo in mono black or Daxos the Returned decks, but I've never played with it, so decided to attempt to get a win like that off on the channel. Now creating more spirit tokens. And this is going to wipe out our board, I dare say. Then towards the end of their turn, they're going in for more activations on Daxos, so deciding to get rid of the Angels this time. And now they've got a flood of tokens that they still can't deal with thanks to that moat. Academy Rector ought to be able to get some removal in for them, but they need to be able to actually kill that off. And I have no intention of killing it for them. So I think at the end of the turn we need to activate the Heliod's Generosity. We'll go in for Greed again because we gained some life. Westvale Abbey, another land for us. In fact, I'll play that now because we can tap it down for mana. And then a Bojuka Bog. Not really going to make use of that unless we can get rid of Doomweight Giant and then go Bojuka Bog after that. So just in case that's a play we can make later on, I'll keep hold of Bojuka Bog. Another land for us. So let's just go all out. We'll go in for Greed again. Okay, Johnny's chosen. That's just going to get wrapped up in Doomweight Giant, unfortunately, so we can't even play that. No point playing Daxos because of the Doomweight Giant thing going on, so... And Helm of Dominance. Okay, so I think our opponent's gone for the combo of... I didn't put it in this one because I don't really like the idea of it. What is it? It's Leyline of the Void or Rest in Peace, I think it's called. The enchantments that exile graveyards. And then you activate this and you pretty much exile someone's entire library. In fact, you do exile someone's entire library. So that's obviously one of the combos that they're going for in this one. I think it's Helm of Obedience you use to do that. Yeah, it mills their library, doesn't it? Now they're going for the activations on Daxos again. Then Helm of Obedience is going to mill 10. And they got into our Archetype of Courage, which might matter with the lifelink that we've got in play. Okay, we could go for a Johnny's Chosen and Dictate of Erebos. There's no way for us to force our opponent to sack the Doomweight Giant, that's the only problem. Let's go a Johnny's Chosen. And then we'll just drop a Plains and pass the turn. I really don't see what else we can do at this point, to be honest. Now the problem with Dictate of Erebos is that they're going to be able to go for Academy Rector if we force them to sacrifice it, so I'm not even going to bother doing that. Let's just go over to our turn. Necropotence could not be any worse for us. And that'll actually stop us drawing any cards if we go for that. So once again, we're just passing the turn over, I think. Act of Authority, there we go. I think they might be able to exile their own thing with that. Enters the battlefield, you may exile a target artifact or enchantment, so they can get rid of their own moat here. So I think that ought to be the game wrapped up finally. Yep, they're going after their own moat, so I'm just going to F6 here. I'm perfectly fine with the game ending at turn 18. And there we go, getting knocked down to minus 150, got there eventually. If you've seen this game, apologies, I probably didn't enjoy it any more than you did, but just know that if you've seen this one, then I had a rough time with recording. I'm going to attempt to get another game going with the patrons now, but yeah, if you've seen this, then it didn't go well, so apologies for that in advance if that is the case. I hope at least some of you did enjoy it. We got to see Daxos go off one way or another, even if it wasn't on my side of the field. And leave it a thumbs up if you did like it. Leave it thumbs down twice if you didn't, and be sure to subscribe for more content from the EDH channel. I'm tribalkai from the EDH channel. Thank you for watching.